Hi, so welcome to this YouTube video on exam tips and tricks for your higher level English Leaving Certificate paper that will be sitting in June. So this is brought to you by ExamRevision. And just in case anyone does have an interest or need additional support just before the exams start, there's going to be a May revision course on the 17th of May between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. So if you have any interest in that, that'll be available up on our website at examrevision.ie. So just to get things started, we're going to look at the adjustments that are being made for your paper. So paper 1 is going to say the original way that it usually was. So no adjustment for comprehension and no adjustment for composing. So, but paper 2, there's a slight little difference. That's it. There's not much of a change. But section 1, there's no adjustment. That's your single text. And in section 2, your comparative study, questions on all 3 modes prescribed for examinations in 2023 will be included. So that's your theme or issue, literary genre, and general vision and viewpoint. I've lost my marker there, sorry. And candidates will be required to answer on 1 mode. The internal question choice with modes will remain the same. So single questions marked out as 70 will require candidates to refer to at least 2 texts in their response. The same criteria for assessment will apply to candidates irrespective of whether they refer to 2 texts or 3 texts when responding to a 70-mark question in section 2 of Leaving Certificate Higher Level English Paper 2. 2-part questions, which are usually 30 marks and 40 marks, will require candidates to refer to 1 text in answer to part A and the 2 other texts in part B. What else is important from this bit now? And as usual, candidates must answer on a Shakespearean drama. So that could be in your section 1 or it could be in your comparative. It's up to whatever way you've done it. Section 3, poetry. So unseen poetry, there's no adjustment. It's the way it's usually been. And part B, prescribed poetry, there's going to be 1 additional poetry question to be included. So you'll be required to answer 1 out of 5 questions. So that's just the adjustments. And now some general advice before we start. So revise the basics. Practice exam papers and questions and answers. Read the questions carefully. Stay relevant to the question. Reference throughout your answer. Do not summarize. Choose a question that you find interesting and add your opinions to it where you can and where it fits appropriately. And that's up to you guys. I'm sure you're well aware of that. And now we're going to have a look at question A. So what is being tested in question A? So your ability to read and understand texts. So this is your comprehension, your understanding of a text you've just read. So you must answer the question, the whole question, because sometimes there can be 2 sections in a question, just say it's asking you about what language techniques did the writer use and how were they effective. Sometimes people will miss out on how they were effective because they haven't really read the question carefully and they're in a high stress situation, they're in an exam, they're looking at the clock 24/7, making sure that their timing is right. And they might they might lose out on the second part of the question. So just make sure that you're answering the entire question. So you have to prove to the examiner that you can write well. Your answer needs to showcase your impressive vocabulary that you've built up over the last few years. It should be able to flow naturally from point to point and offer an in-depth analysis of the text you just read. So pick out your relevant information, rephrase it, use quotes, keep them relatively as short, especially when they're on the paper, like the exam page. Keep them as short as you can, just for your own hand and your own sake there. And interpret the text. So make sure you're interpreting what you've just read. So you might be asked, these are short questions, to figure out the message of a text and the points that the author's made throughout the text. Offer your own opinion if you've been asked, but stick closely to discussing what is in the text. Comment on the style of writing, so your categories of language, so some examples: informative, persuasive, argumentative, descriptive. You must be able to identify the techniques and comment on their effectiveness. So making sure that you're commenting that they're effective and how they were effective. And if you're asked, or if there is a visual element, You might be asked to answer on photos, book covers, an advertisement, or a painting. So again, just read the questions first, slowly and carefully, underline important words or highlight them, whichever works for you. Rewrite the question in simpler language, especially if you're not sure what's being asked. I'd do that regardless. I'd rewrite the question, even maybe pointing out the key words, so that I have my own version of the question and it's stuck in my head a little bit better than when I read it in someone else's words. Read the passage and underline or highlight anything that you might think you can use in your answers. And I'd usually, beside where I've highlighted or underlined, I'd put question 1 if it's relevant to that question, question 2 if it's relevant to that question, whichever. Pay attention to how many marks each question is. Don't get stuck on making the same point over and over again. Try make 1 point for every 5 marks available. So if it's 15 marks, that's 3 points. If it's 10 marks, that's 2 points. Stick closely to answering the question that's been asked. So make sure you're not wandering off. Don't summarize the text unless it's asked you to, please. When quoting directly, use quotation marks. Make sure we have our quotation marks. Be organized in your writing. Make sure it flows naturally and it's organized and your thought process is fully thought out and it's not going from A to Z to E and so forth. And don't wander off on a tangent. Make sure you're staying straight on the point, because sometimes you can get carried away with your writing. I know I do. And now our question B. So when I think of question B, if it works for you guys, you can think of tags. So that's topic, audience, genre, and style. So topic, stick to the topic and have plenty of ideas already prepared. Identify problems, but also offer solutions. That will work depending on whichever style of writing you choose, or genre of writing. Audience, who are you writing this for? What kind of language is appropriate? Is it formal or informal? Then genre, are you writing a diary, report, or speech? Because each of them look very different in style. And what is laid out, or what layout is expected. And your style then, so what techniques will you use? Because they'll vary depending on which one you've picked. If you picked a diary, report, or speech, there's going to be different techniques that you'll need to use. And reminder, I'm sure this has been drilled in already, but you cannot answer a question A and a question B on the same text. The best way I go about this, or I went about this, was I would pick my question B first, and then I'd choose a question A from the other two, because it's much easier to answer a question where the text is on the exam paper than a question B that you've not really worked on, you've not really prepared, and you don't like the question. And if you do this, there's no comma there, if you do answer question A and the question B on the exact same text, you will lose 25% of your marks for that paper 1. So what can I be asked to write? And in the next slide, we're going to have like a laid out version of what's came up for the last, I think, 11 years. So you could be asked to write a report, memo, leaflet, guideline, letter, which could be based on the text, a review, proposal, advertisement, diary entries that could also be based on the text, dialogue, script, interview. And I have from 2022 to 2012 what's came up. So in 2022, we had an open letter, a text for a podcast, and an editorial. 2021, we had a feature article, open letter, verbal pitch. 2020, we had an article, an introduction, a speech. 2019, we had an opinion piece, reflective journal piece, speech. 2019, we did 2019, didn't I? 2018, we have an open letter, opinion piece, article. 2017, we had an article, opinion piece, text for a radio. 2016, we had a speech, competition entry, and blog post. 2015, we had a letter, article, and an introduction. 2014, we had the text of a news report, a talk, and a letter. 2013, we had a letter, proposal, and article. 2012, we had a talk, introduction, and opinion piece. And the composition now. So I've got another one here as well for the 11 years. So from 2022 to 2012. We have, in 2022, you'll see a very much, wait, I'll get my marker up. You can see that a few of them come up quite a lot. So we can kind of bank on these coming up. So of course, personal essays are rampant, with 2 coming up most years. Oh, that's not personal essay. And then next one, we'd have short story. That would come up quite often. So just for example, 2022, personal essay, speech, short story, article, discursive essay, personal essay, discursive essay, short story, fairy tale or fable, article, speech, personal essay, article, short story, discursive essay, and speech, descriptive essay, short story, personal essay, short story, discursive essay, personal essay, speech. 2018, descriptive essay, short story, personal essay, discursive essay, short story, personal essay, speech. 2017, discursive essay, descriptive essay, speech, short story, dramatic dialogue, personal essay, and an article. 2016, persuasive essay, short story, descriptive essay, personal essay, speech, short story, speech. 2015, short story, article, speech, personal essay, descriptive essay, short story, discursive essay. 2014, short story, speech, personal essay, descriptive essay, article, personal essay, short story, speech, personal essay, short story, descriptive essay, personal essay, article, short story. Then 2012, the last one there, we've got personal essay, article, short story, persuasive essay, article, address, and short story. So, get rid of my pen now. So as you can see, personal essays every single year, short stories every single year, and so on and so forth. So you can kind of bank on one of them. Okay. So for this part, you need to plan. So you should have ideas already picked out. So you can be inspired from television, music, news, whatever you've seen going on. You can draw inspiration from whatever you're interested in. Organize your ideas. Make a list of techniques that you're comfortable using and that you can use well and effectively. So your dramatic opening. So we've got here, it says it's important to grab the reader's attention. So maybe you might use a quote, a series of rhetorical questions, a list, a vivid description. Have a variety of ideas prepared in advance, just in case a question doesn't come up that suits your favorite idea. So have some backup plans. Make sure you have a variety of techniques. So you can vary your techniques and show you have great control of language. I'd add them to a plan. So when we're planning for our short story or personal essay or whatever speech, write down in your plan what techniques, even on the side, just what you're going to want to use, and then maybe tick them off every single time you use them, just so you know that you've met your target or your goal. I know a lot of people can write well naturally, and sometimes it can just come to certain people, but sometimes when you're in a stressful environment like an exam, that might not happen. And it might be just safer just to do that. Flow, make sure it flows well, connecting phrases, create a flow and transition from one idea to the next. And then your dramatic final paragraph. So it's important to leave the reader satisfied. No one wants to hear that it was all a dream. It's been done and it's been overused so many times. Use a quote or a series of rhetorical questions, a list, vivid description. Maybe you want to tie it back to your opening. Maybe you want to end it the same way, so it kind of comes full circle. Begin and end with a very similar or the same idea. And before we move on to paper 2, we're just going to have a quick little talk about a premium plan with ExamRevision. So what do you get with ExamRevision? So you get on-demand video tutorial grinds 24/7 with the entire subject, so for your entire subject. So instead of just waiting to do maybe grinds after school or on the weekends, this is available 24/7. So you've got bite-sized video tutorials that are like little grinds. PowerPoint presentations available, distinction notes or H1 notes, exam and mock paper questions, and the marking schemes up there. There's quizzes, a reflection log, and it's smart, adaptable technology to guide students with your learning. So junior cycle subjects available: Irish, maths, history, science, geography, business, and home ec. And Leaving Cert, we've got Irish, English, maths, history, geography, agricultural science, physics, biology, chemistry, business, economics, French, music, and PE. And just for this video, so we've got a discount code, 2023 tips, for 20% off premium plans. So I know it's May and it's about a month before your exams, but you can pay monthly for ExamRevision, which means that you might, for your last month, have some nice handy video tutorials to just go over. And with 2023 tips, you get 20% off your premium plan. So that could be very useful for you. And just to go and just show you what ExamRevision is about. So this is the Leaving Certificate English one. So this is what you'll see if you get it. So for example, we've got the single text King Lear here, which I know you guys are doing Macbeth. So there's Macbeth down there. Comparative Study, how you do question A and question B. Composing, Robert Frost. Frost is not yours, 1 second. Even there's the Unseen Poem. Yeats is there, he's on yours. Dickinson, Adrian Rich. And just to go back, if you want to have a look at the subjects here. Oh, I've gone into junior cycle subjects, 1 second. So you can change your subject, and here's an example of the ones that you might be interested in Leaving Cert. So there we are. Okay, so and look, there's H1 notes down there. Presentations. You can build your own exam. Oh, excuse me. Where am I going now? There we are. Okay, so just to keep you up on that. So now we've got paper 2. So at this point, you should know the text like the back of your hand. You've been doing them for the last good while. Yeah, I'm sure you've been studying hard and a long time at this rate. You should know your strengths and play to them as well. So you should know what you're good at, what you enjoy answering. And please do not attempt something new on the day of the exam. Make sure you've practiced it beforehand. Or try avoid attempting something new. If the worst case scenario happens and you have to try something new, good luck. But just make sure that you're doing something that you're comfortable with and that you've done before. Again, do not summarize the text, please. Make a plan for each question. This is important throughout the whole entire exam. Make sure you have a plan, because it's so easy in an exam environment to lose track of your own train of thought, to start writing and get carried away and move on to something too quickly. So if you plan your writing, that's there for the examiner to see what points you were meant to hit yourself. And it's also there for you to go back and be like, what was I meant to say next? How did I plan this? Did I mention this so far? And you can tick it off as you go along as well. And with poetry especially, it's really important. You might want to try to get personal with it, because it's really excellent answer if you can say that a poet fascinated you or something along them lines, and engage with the question. Just making sure that you're constantly engaged with the question. So the single text, this usually for most people, it's your Shakespearean text. So Macbeth this year. So the single text question will test your in-depth knowledge of a novel or play from the prescribed list. Questions posed in the exam will require you to display expert knowledge of key characters, dominant themes, and distinctive storytelling techniques used in the chosen text. Your comparative study. So your comparative question tests your knowledge of the 3 key modes, or the ways of comparing and contrasting stories. So your answers must demonstrate a knowledge of the following modes. So this is your ones this year, which all 3 questions are coming up this year. So you'll get your pick: general vision, viewpoint, theme or issue, literary genre. You should know by now at this rate what one you're most comfortable answering. providing the question is a nice question for you guys. So for me, if I'd rank them, it would be Team Irish be number 1, General Vision Viewpoint be number 3, and then if the worst of the worst happened and the literary genre question appealed to me the most, that would be the one I'd have to go for. And that would be quite a tough decision for me. The key skill is making connections between 3 stories dealing with a specific mode of comparison. It is crucial to know a number of key moments from your study text that can illustrate the points of comparison that you've chosen. Okay? And poetry, the poetry section tests your ability to respond to the poem's suitable language, using suitable language to analyze your response to the poet's work. The same skills of analysis are tested in the unseen and prescribed questions. You must study a minimum of 4 poets. 5 of the prescribed 8 will appear on the exam, so it's essential to know 4 well in order to guarantee that you can answer this section well. Okay? Oh, let's not go next. So I have a graph here. Actually, probably need to write on this 1 second. Let me get my pen. So up here, this Venn diagram, I said a graph, it's a Venn diagram. So these poets here are women. These poets here have passed away. I'm dead. Or maybe if we put great, like the greats of poetry. Now that's obviously not a personal opinion for most people. And then down here we have Irish. So these are the poets that you've been prescribed. So we've got Bishop, Dickinson, and Rich all here. We've got Donne here, Kavanagh, Mahan, and Yeats, and then Paula Meehan, and it's her first year coming up, and she's a woman and she's Irish. So I'm sure we all know how Venn diagrams work, so this is what's shared between them, and in this case it's women and passed away, Irish, passed away, and just passed away, and then women and Irish, just to separate them up even. So maybe if you were to pick one from each subcategory here, just say that's 4 of them for you, whichever one you want to choose best, but that might help you choose what poets to have the best chance that they might come up in the exam. So that is everything for today. I'll just bring us back to the discount just in case you might want to see that a little bit longer. But thank you so much, and obviously all the best in your exams. Good luck and enjoy your summer after the exams finish.